There's the mute button undoing itself. My name is Jesse, and welcome to another thrilling program with us here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time today, and I know we do have a huge new audience largely across Alberta today, welcome in Alberta classes. I think we got the entire province really in this broadcast, so very exciting to have you all. If you are new to us, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world through over 40 live free monthly interactive broadcasts. And you are joining us today, not just for a regular program, but for a very special program during our Peak Discovery series. Since October, we've been joining in forces with the amazing mountain parks in Alberta and British Columbia to feature their stories of heritage, culture, wildlife, biodiversity, and so much more. It has been an absolutely incredible ride. I encourage you to check out the site there, or head to our YouTube channel to see every single program that we've done in partnership with them, including this one, if you want to watch again when we're done. Now, for many of you, it's been a long winter. I'm here in Newfoundland. We had 7-foot snow drifts outside my house for a lot of the year, but winter is coming to a close, and the best way that we can know that is by this amazing world of bird call. So today, we are going to dive in with the birds of Waterton Lakes National Park in lovely Alberta. I'm so excited to turn you over to Shannon, who's going to blow your mind talking about some of the incredible feathered friends that we have there. And so, without further ado, Shannon, welcome to the broadcast today, and take us away with the world's best glasses ever.
Thank you so much. And hello, bonjour, and oki, everyone. Welcome to my online bird program. I am Shannon. I'm an interpreter here in Waterton Lakes National Park. And Waterton Lakes, or Baktomak Sikmi, is the Blackfoot meaning, which means inner sacred lake in the mountains. And I'll start this presentation by acknowledging I am presenting from the traditional territories of the Siksika-Sadapi, which is the Blackfoot Confederacy, consists of the following nations: Kainai, Pagani, Siksika, and Pagani. And Waterton Lakes National Park falls within Treaty 7 territory, which also includes the Tsuut'ina Nations, Stoney Nakoda, which is Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley bands. And the Ktunaxa Nation also claim Waterton Lakes as within their traditional territory, as well as Métis Nation Region 3 Association claim Waterton as being in their homeland. And the land and waters of Waterton have been used for millennia by Indigenous people for sustenance, ceremony, trade, and travel. And we thank them for that continued stewardship and for sharing this land with us. And with that, we can start in to learn all about birds today. And specifically, we're going to be focusing on unique characteristics and adaptations that birds have that set them apart from all other wildlife. And near the end, we're going to run through a basic couple of birding techniques. And so you'll have some knowledge under your belt so you can get out and start to explore the wonderful world of birds. So I'm going to ask everyone to close your eyes for a moment. And with your eyes closed, picture a bird you've seen recently. With the bird in your mind, ask yourself, what makes that bird special? Why did you notice it? What special features did it have that set it apart? Now you can open your eyes again and keep those thoughts about your bird in your mind as we go, because as you're adding to your knowledge, I bet you're going to discover some stuff about your bird. All right, let's dive in, shall we? So to start off, let's find out what makes a bird a bird. So birds and humans have some things in common, and starting with basic anatomy of the inside out, birds are vertebrates, and that means they have backbones and they also have 2 legs. What's very unique about bird bones, however, is that their bones are hollow, and we are going to talk more about that a little later. Also similar to humans, birds have 4-chambered hearts, and that means they're warm-blooded like us, and they can maintain their body temperature even when the temperature outside changes. Now, getting to the differences between birds and humans. Birds lay hard-shelled eggs instead of giving birth to live young. Also, they have ear holes instead of actual ears. But the most different and identifiable characteristic of birds is they have wings and feathers. So that's the basics of our birds in a nutshell, or should I say eggshell? But let's take a closer look into some of their unique features so we can really start to appreciate just how amazing they are. Let's start with that most defining feature of their wings and their feathers. So all birds have wings, even if they don't use them to fly. However, each species has a slightly different shape and style of wing. For example, eagles have big, wide wings for soaring, and hummingbirds have really small, fast wings for hovering, whereas American dippers use their wings for diving and steering underwater. As we go through the rest of the presentation, you're going to notice different species of birds have different variations of the similar structures that help them meet their lifestyles and their needs. And that is called an adaptation. Now, looking on the inside of the bird's wings and body is its bones. Birds' bones are really special, and they are called pneumatized, which is a fancy word that means to have air-filled cavities. And so we sometimes refer to them as being hollow. When we compare a bird's bone to a human bone, we can see that while the human bone is solid and filled with bone marrow, the bird bone has these large air pockets. But what do we think hollow bones would be useful for? You could type it in the chat box, or Jesse, we could ask a classroom what they think.
Ooh, oh, sorry, my computer's going a little slower than usual. Classes, if you're on YouTube and you want to share anything in the chat, please do. Live classes, actually, Sven Hansen, I'll head to you guys. What would hollow bones, what might they be used for? What do we think, grade threes?
What do we think, guys? Just say it. Just say it. What do you think?
Flying. Okay, flying better. Great option. On YouTube, we've got holding feathers, maybe. Might be interesting. I like that idea. Shannon, Miss Doyle's class, do you guys have any thoughts? If you unmute your mic, we can take in there.
Go back.
Birds' hollow bones are lighter so that they can help them fly, because if they had solid bones like we do, they would be too heavy to fly.
Right down to the ground. Great options, guys. Shannon, what's our answer today?
Well, that's a great answer, because you're right. They do make them a lot lighter and easier to fly for sure. But the thing is, they do more than this. So they actually give them extra air. Birds have a very efficient respiratory system. That's their breathing system, with extra air sacs in addition to their lungs that move oxygen through their bodies. And those air sacs extend into the hollow spaces of the bone. And the air sacs allow for the lungs to be constantly given fresh oxygen. And that's so important for the birds while they're flying long distances. So great job, you guys. So back to the outside of the bird, let's look at what's covering those wings and the rest of the body, and that's feathers. So birds are the only creature in the world that grows feathers, and feathers come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, and perform a wide variety of functions. So I'm going to put some pictures of some birds up on the screen, and everyone where you are, just amongst yourselves, try and guess the function of the bird feathers in the photos. So first up, here we have a swallow. And what are those feathers helping that swallow do? If you guessed flying, that's right. Birds have specific flight feathers on their wings and tail. And they're very strong and very light, allowing them to propel themselves as they maneuver through the air. And feathers are made of keratin, which is the same material as our fingernails and our hair. And that makes feathers really lightweight and also super durable for flying. Now, what about this duck? What are these feathers doing for the duck? If you said making it waterproof, that would be correct. And that's where the saying slides like water off a duck's back comes from. Birds have a special part of their body called a preen gland, and it puts out an oil that they pick up with their beaks, and they rub that oil all over their feathers to make themselves waterproof. Now, this act is called preening, and it also cleans and moisturizes the feathers to keep them strong and really flexible. Now, what about this little chickadee? What are those feathers doing for him? That is about keeping warm. Feathers are the greatest insulating structures out of all the animals that we know. They're even better than thick blubber or fur. And birds use their feathers to trap air next to their bodies for insulation. And they can rearrange them and move them around like this little chickadee here to trap more or less to adjust their body temperature relative to how hot or cold it is outside. Now, how about this bright fellow? I think this one is trying to attract a mate. Male birds in particular are known for having different, more colorful plumage or feathers during the breeding season to attract a mate. And some of the males, like this one here, are putting on quite the show. And last, what is this nighthawk's feathers doing for it? Camouflage is the answer. The patterning and colors of body feathers can give birds a self-defense mechanism that helps keep them safe from predators by helping them blend into their environment. And here's a camouflage bonus round for you all. Take a look at these 3 pictures, and I'm going to give you a minute to look. And there is a bird in each one of these pictures. Can anyone find them?
I got my binoculars out, Shannon. I don't know. This is tricky. I think I got the middle one down. I think I might have the right one down with eyes. The left one, I don't think there's a bird there at all. I think that's just a tree, and you're messing with me.
Well, let's reveal the answers here.
Right.
1, 2, 3. There they all are. And with a circle around them, I hope you can see them now. And I hope someone had some luck finding all of them. All right, let's move along down to the bottom of the bird before we go back up, and we'll take a look at their feet before talking about bills and eyes. So birds' feet are covered with heavily scaled skin, and that strengthens their foot and helps prevent wear and tear that comes with walking and perching. And the feet and toes are mostly tough tendons and bones, and they don't have many nerves or blood vessels or even muscles, but that allows them to perch on really cold metal or walk on ice in low temperatures. But what's really even more amazing about that is inside the bird's foot, the blood vessels that are there are very close together. That allows for warm blood that's flowing through the bird's body to transfer some of its heat back to the cold blood that's just gone through the foot. And this is called countercurrent heat exchange. But what you need to know is just it's important for helping the bird maintain its core body temperature. But looking at these background photos again, you can see different birds will have different feet for different uses. And we can have a little guessing game here to try and guess what type of feet some common birds would have and why. We could have a couple guesses in the chat box. For a couple of these, we could go to a classroom. So here we have an osprey. What kind of feet do we think that an osprey would have?
Ooh, how about Sven Hansen? I'll head to you guys first. YouTubers, you can always chime in the chat too. I'll take your queries there. I know it takes a second to sort of queue up there. But Sven Hansen, I'll head to you first, and then Miss Doyle's after that. Hey, guys, what do we think?
What do we think, guys?
There's so many of you. I love it. I like the enthusiasm. Okay. Miss Doyle's class, you got your hands up. Unmute your mic. You can keep your mic unmuted the whole broadcast, I promise. There we are. What do you think?
To like catch fish in the water.
Fish catching ones on YouTube. Talons or claws are our big options. I like it.
Wow, you all are very smart because they are indeed talons. Birds of prey have very strong feet, and those talons act as their nails, and they're perfect for hunting. And you can see on the osprey's foot, it's got 2 toes pointing forward and 2 pointing backward, and that is ideal for snatching and holding on to prey. And now here we've got a mallard duck. What kind of feet do you think a duck has?
I also, while we're thinking about this, I want everyone in their lives to say something with as much enthusiasm as Shannon just said. Mallard duck. Thank you for that in my day. Gonna the same order. Sven Hansen, what do we think? Talons like the osprey or no? Webbed feet. I think they might have seen a duck before, Shannon. I'm just gonna give it to him on that one.
Yeah, that's correct. Webbed feet. So waterfowl, which are birds that live in the water, they have skin between their toes that turns their feet into paddles, and that's perfect for propelling them through the water. And next we've got this golden crowned kinglet. Any guesses what their feet are used for?
All right, Miss Doyle's class, I'm going to head to you guys. Keep that mic unmuted. And what do we think? Here we are. Webbed feet, talons. Oh, thinking about it. My computer's doing weird stuff. There we go.
They have not webbed feet to grapple onto branches.
Yeah.
Claws.
Little claws to hook around the branches. I think that might be on point there, Shannon.
I think it is. We call those perching feet. So songbirds will have really small feet, but their feet have a special locking mechanism that's just for perching. When a bird lands, the tendons from their leg can tighten and lock the foot in a gripped position around the branch. This is an involuntary reflex, which means the bird doesn't even have to think about it to do it. So awesome work on feet, folks. So we'll bring it over to beaks and bills. And in general, what do those bills do? What are they used for? Just shout it out to yourselves wherever you are. They are for eating. Many birds use their beaks just like we use kitchen utensils. So sticking with our theme, we've got different birds with different varieties of the same structure. And we're going to play another little matching game here. We'll figure out which bird beak is best suited for which type of food. And you can just guess from your classrooms there and talk to each other. So we have 4 different bird species with very different bird structures. So looking at our menu option that just went up on the page, try to match which food item each bird would choose. So what do you think our rose-breasted grosbeak would choose? If you said the seed, you'd be correct. And what about this golden eagle? What does it want to eat? If you said this snowshoe hare, you're correct. How about our rufous hummingbird? If you said flower, you're right. And last but not least, our flycatcher would choose the wasp. And now here's a picture of all 4 eating in action. As you can see, the rose-breasted grosbeak has a short, thick, cone-shaped beak. It's strong for cracking open nuts and seeds. And that golden eagle has a large, hooked, sharp beak, and that's for helping to tear apart the flesh of its prey. Now, the rufous hummingbird has this long, narrow beak to allow it to get into the center of flowers and drink the nectar. And the flycatcher has a hook on the end of its beak to help it catch insects. They also have bristles by their beak that are kind of like whiskers, and that helps them understand the speed and orientation in the air when they're flying to catch their food. So we'll wrap up our adaptations for today with what I think is saving the best for last, and we're going to talk about bird eyes and their amazing sense of vision. Did you know that birds have the largest eye in proportion to their body of most other animals? The common ostrich has the largest eye of any land animal. It's 5 times larger than the human eye, even bigger than an elephant's eye, and yes, the ostrich's eye is bigger than the ostrich's brain. But what do these big eyes do for our birds? Well, a bigger eye means they can have a bigger retina, and that holds some more room for more sensory cells that can pick up some light. So let's compare birds' eyes to human eyes. Birds' retinas have about 3 times as many sensory cells as the human retina. So just like a camera with 3 times more pixels, birds have a much keener vision than humans. As an eye doctor, humans have to stand about 3 meters away from the chart, and you probably know it gets really hard to read the small letters at that distance. But by comparison, this eagle can read that newspaper from all the way across a football field. Another difference is birds have a 3rd eyelid called the nictitating membrane. While humans only have the top and the bottom eyelids that move up and down, birds will have both of those, plus an extra eyelid that opens from left to right, and its job is to protect and clean the eye. And this adaptation is especially useful while the bird is in flight or diving into water. A third difference is birds can see in the UV spectrum. And humans are limited to visible light rays, but the bird's eyes pick up on more than we could even imagine. So let's take a look at the world from a bird's perspective if we include the UV spectrum. So here we have a picture of a starling as it's seen by humans with visible light. So let's put on some bird's eye glasses. Whoa, that starling looks completely different. The UV spectrum has brought out so many new colors and patterns. And this is likely how starlings see each other, which would take mating and courtship to a whole new level. But what else would be an advantage of being able to see in the UV spectrum? Well, let's take a look at some flowers. And we'll put on our bird's eye view glasses. Flowers and fruits also reflect the UV light, which makes them very bright, where the green leaves absorb the UV light and then become muted. This allows birds to find food sources in really dense vegetation. Here are a few other examples to compare human vision and bird vision. It is truly like they see a completely different world than we do. So now we know that bird eyes are much better than human eyes. So what can we humans do if we are trying to find birds? Looking for birds and then trying to identify them can be kind of difficult, but there are some tips and tricks for recognizing them in the field, and we'll touch on a few of them now to help you get out there to train your eagle eyes. First, consider what season it is when you set out birding, because the season will give you an indication of what species of bird you might expect to see. Many birds migrate to spend parts of the year in different locations for different activities, such as breeding and feeding. Looking at a range map can help you rule out whether or not you'll see a bird during a different time of year. So for the range map here of the Canada goose, you can see it spends its summers throughout Canada to breed, and then it migrates down to the United States and Mexico during the winter months. Also consider their habitat. Know what habitats different birds like to live in and what their adaptations are best suited for, and that's helpful for birding. Think of habitat type as a little mini range map. Habitats can help you narrow in on the bird species you expect to find. For example, you wouldn't really expect to see this duck on a mountain cliffside. A duck would be in a shallow water body. The golden eagles are the ones that like to nest on the cliff sides. And the sharp-tailed grouse may be seen running across the prairies, and the owls are most often found in the shelter of the forest. So when you're looking at the actual bird itself, you probably know a little more about it than you think just by looking at its size and shape. So let's do a quick pop quiz, and don't worry, it's not for marks. What I'm going to do is put up a silhouette of a bird, and I want you to guess what type of bird you think it is. We could go to the classrooms for a couple of these. So let's put the first one up.
Ooh, I think they might know this one. This is a pretty good one. Oh, there's so many hands in Miss Doyle's class. I'm going to head to you guys first this time. What do we think?
Owl.
Owl. No,
Yes.
owl, but like so confidently, like just like owl. We just know. Perfect.
Perfect. It is an owl. Let's go with the next one.
Okay, Sven Hansen, I'm going to bring you guys in for this one. What is this guy?
Oh. Excellent. Let's the next one.
All right, I'm going to let YouTubers come in with this one. If they want, this is a bit of a trickier one than owl and crow. I'm going to give you guys a second. I know it takes a second to kick in here. Oh, what do we think? Cool, two little tendrils on the back of the tail. Got fantastical wings. We might have seen it earlier in the program, maybe. What do we think? Oh, YouTube's taking a while. I apologize. I'm going to head to Sven Hansen. YouTubers, you can chime in too. What do we think? Any idea? Barn
So
swallow.
I don't know what
swallow.
I heard there, but it's a swallow. Yeah.
Whoa. Miss Roberts, O'Byrne, Swallow, Miss Mustard's class on YouTube. All got that. Way to go, guys.
All right. And next.
And next, okay, Miss Doyle's class, if you guys want to unmute, come on in.
Okay,
What do you
Wyatt,
think?
louder.
Geese. A goose, maybe?
Yeah.
Swan, I heard swan, goose. Okay, in that family.
It's a goose.
Yes.
All right, and next.
Sven Hansen, what do we think? Robin? We're
Remember
big on
those perching
robins.
feet? Yeah, those perching feet, that's a little sparrow.
Oh, good guess. Robin's good. I like
Very close, yeah. And this one here?
that. It's like 10 of those above my house right now. Miss Doyle's class, what do you want? Unmute your mic.
Jasmine, really loud. A seagull.
Eagle? That's what I think it might be.
Yeah,
That's what-
you bet. It's a gull for sure. And last.
At least.
Oh, well, that's just a rubber ducky. I don't think we're going to see that in the wild. Really good job, everyone. See, you've got some really good guesses of what type of bird you might be seeing in the wild, even if you don't know the exact species that you're seeing. This activity is called silhouetting, and it's a great strategy for narrowing down what type of bird that you're looking at. But then you'll see the colors of the silhouette and you'll realize that one size does not fit all. So one of the more difficult skills of birding is identifying the bird by its exact species. To do that, it becomes really important to pick up on field markings or the colors of the bird to identify it. Various areas of the bird's body will have different colors and patterning that make it distinctive. So here you can see some key areas to look at to help you identify a species. There's also the crest, the eye ring, and the cheek. And within the wings, you're going to notice that different feather groupings are often colored together. So now we're going out on a walk, or maybe we're just looking out the window. What kind of things do we need to start our birding journey? Well, the basic answer is just yourself with your eyes and ears. But there are a couple of things for Birding 101 that are going to help you set up for success. Bring a pair of binoculars. Binoculars help magnify what you're looking at and help you see birds in greater detail. Have a guide with you. Either a book or an app, like this one here, Merlin, can be very helpful for identifying what bird you're looking at. You got to get up early because often birds are most active around sunrise and your chance of seeing them are better at that time. And then you want to avoid sudden movements and loud noises because fast movement and loud sounds can startle birds and cause them to fly away. And most importantly, you need patience to keep practicing. You're going to have to wait for the birds to come by and be really patient with yourself because you're learning a new skill and it takes time to become more familiar with this wonderful world of birds. So birding you can do by yourself, but you can also do it with your friends, or you can even contribute to a broader community with birding. eBird is a website that has a citizen science component to it. You can submit your sightings to a worldwide database, and then scientists can use that data to trace bird migration, monitor their nesting success, or look at changes in their numbers over time. And submitting your findings to eBird is something you can always do on your own, but you could also join a local volunteer project or a bird count in your nearby community. And these usually happen around Christmas or during the spring migration. And these are great initiatives to help you apply these birding skills and all this knowledge that you learned today. And you can also meet other birders and learn from them. So that brings us to the end. I hope you all enjoyed learning about birds and you're inspired to get out and start looking for them yourselves. And now we do have some time for questions if anyone has anything they'd like to ask.
Shannon, that was an extraordinary tour of one of the most amazing group of creatures on this planet. Whoever did the transitions in that talk should get a raise. Our Quartermaster here fans, we're pushing for that because that was an incredibly beautiful presentation as well. We are going to dive in with our Q&A very soon. We're going to do a little Kahoot together first. So for those who are joining for the first time, Kahoot is a little quiz that we can test your understanding, have a little bit of fun. The faster you answer, the more points you get. So if you want to open this up in a separate tab, if you're joining on YouTube, you want to come tune in. If you've got separate devices, all the better. And we're going to get underway with that in just a second. As you're all pouring in, I will note on the Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants side, we've got a nature campaign getting kids out in nature all around the world coming up in May. Backyard Bio, you can check that out at backyardbio.net. We're getting registrations right now. So if you want to get out with your class and explore, find all the feathered friends, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, insects, anything you want to find, plants, and partner with classes around the world. It's our signature event every single spring. Shannon, we've got 27 and counting pouring into our Kahoot. I'm going to get us underway, so we will dive in, and I can't wait to see who wins. Let us know who you are in the chat if you are at our podium at the end. And then we're going to head to our live classes and YouTubers for some questions over the next 15 minutes. Here we go. Question number 1. Shannon, you can give us hints when there's a few seconds to go if you'd like. What spectrum of light rays can birds see? Street lights, neon lights, ultraviolet light, rainbows. I hope we can all see rainbows. Rainbows are delightful. All right, 5 answers in. Don't think too hard. We did talk about this for a little bit. We showcased some amazing flowers, how birds look to each other, and a special kind of light. We affiliated with a lot. 46 of you in. Ultraviolet, 90% of you got that right. Way to go, everybody. And Great Squid is our winner. I hope a bird name wins because that would be very fitting, I think. But we'll see how it goes. If a cephalopod takes the cake, that's good too. Birds and mammals have many things in common, but what makes birds different from mammals? They're smaller. All birds are smaller than all mammals. They eat bugs. No mammals eat bugs. They lay eggs and have wings and feathers, or they can fly. Well, what do we think? 10 seconds to go here.
We think way back to the beginning. They have very unique features that are different.
And great illustrations of the ways they use those, by the way. So they lay eggs and have wings and feathers is our correct answer. A lot of you got tripped up by they can fly, but insects can fly. Bats in the mammal group can fly. Over 1,000 species of bat out there can all fly. So they do fly, most of them, but not all birds fly either. So it's a bit of a tricky one. I like your thought process though, guys. Rapid Oryx, nice job. Let's go to question number 3. Bird bones are dun, 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 hollow, full of marrow, solid and heavy, or birds don't have bones. They're like floppy blobfish of the sky. No, probably not. I don't think it's that one. But solid and heavy, hollow. You guys were so good at understanding why this was the case. Not only getting it right, but in our Q&A earlier, 67 of you in. Hollow, 59 got hollow right. Way to go, everybody. That is fantastic. Keep our scoreboard going. And we are going to head to a few questions just to see what you thought of the program today. No right answer, no wrong answer. Did you learn something you didn't know before? I learned a lot. You learned a little, or you didn't learn anything. You knew you were an ornithologist coming into this program, the world authority on birds, and you were sitting there in grade 3 being like, why am I even here? So that's an option if you feel that way. But I learned a lot, and I'm a biologist by background, so this is a pretty fun program today. Most people learned a lot. Quite a few learned a little, and 15 of you are ornithologists, which is very exciting. I didn't know we had such a really on-board class today. But let's head to our final question. Just what you thought of the program. We like to give our amazing parks teams some feedback on what they thought. Did you like it today? Did you love it? Were you neutral? Or would you have rather been at like one of the other programs? Are you more of a snake person or a caribou fan? Maybe wildfire is your thing and you missed the program from next week. You can come back for April 12th. It's my birthday. You should. What do we think? Dun, dun, dun. I know if I had a vote, I'd be very happy. This is always a good time. 50 answers in at the nick of time. A good mix, but most people loved it. That is fantastic. I appreciate that, everybody. So let's see our final tally. Let us know if you are any of these folks in the chat, live or on StreamYard. And then I'm heading to Sven Hansen School for our first question. Golden the Kid in a second, Smart Urchins third, and number 1. Drum roll, please. Rapid Oryx, way to go. Okay. Thanks for participating in the Kahoot, everybody. YouTubers, there's a ton of you. So please do share questions there. We'd love to hear from you. But Sven Hansen, I'm coming first to you for our kickoff question.
Everyone cheer.
That's how I feel. I know. Oh, so excited. Do you have any questions for Shannon today?
Listen, guys, who's gonna ask our question?
What's your question?
Okay, you guys, keep going. When is mating?
Oh, could you repeat that for us?
When is mating season?
When's mating season for the bird, Shannon?
So that's a good question For most birds, it's going to be the springtime. So they are coming in, they're making their nests, they're laying their eggs, and they're getting ready for those babies to be born in the spring.
Yep. By the way, as you answered that, and thank you for that first question, I just saw in the chat, Sven Hansen, you guys were rapping Oryx. Way to go.
No, don't hear.
I know. Oh, Kahoot winners, first question askers. Holy, what a day. Miss Doyle's class, I'm heading to you next. If you got a question for us, unmute your mic and come on in. Hey, guys.
As somebody who watches birds, what would be a good tip for if you're like out in the forest and there are people and it's like there's really thick trees? What would be a good tip to help find the birds if there's really thick trees?
Great question, man.
Yeah. So there's another thing the birds will do that can help if you get good at it is they make noise. So a lot of birds will sing and you can listen. And sometimes if you're listening, you can pinpoint where they are. But the best part is to keep a lot of patience, because the longer you can just sort of sit and be quiet and wait, you'll find that the birds will show up for you and you'll start to see them moving around in the trees and you can observe them a little better. So it really is about patience and waiting for those birds to show up.
Outstanding. I will note too, you mentioned eBird. I brought this up for a second on the broadcast, ebird.org. iNaturalist is another fantastic app for students to use. And both of these apps have the ability, if you just listen, you can use your phone, you can record a bird call. If you don't know what a bird call is, input it into this and it will tell you what bird it is. I've actually done this in parks in Canada. It's so cool because you might not see those little tiny birds that are amongst those big thickets, just like you mentioned, but this way you can find out what they are and look them up later, and it's such a special opportunity to learn. So great question, man. I'm gonna, again, YouTubers, if you got questions, please do chime in. We've got about 8 minutes to go, so a few more seconds for questions here. Sven Hansen, I'm gonna come back to you for a second one. Hi, grade threes. Hi. Do you have a second question for us? Come on up.
Okay, go ahead. Right here. She's coming.
He's coming. Perfect.
How do they feed their babies?
How do they feed their babies, Shannon? Good question.
So the thing about birds is there's so many different kinds of birds and they all eat different things, as you remember. So it's kind of going to depend on the kind of bird. But birds do this thing that some people find is kind of gross, which is they eat some food and then they cough it back up, and that's called regurgitating. It's partially digested and they feed that to their babies, and that's very common amongst birds.
Yeah, great question, guys. All right, Miss Roberts' class, who joined us earlier today. This is her second parks program of the day. It's been a wild and crazy time. Are there endangered birds in Waterton, and what are they?
There are. So let me come to my list here because I've written it down. So many birds are struggling due to a lot of factors, and a loss of habitat's the biggest one. Prairie birds around here, they lay nests on the ground and they need undisturbed areas for this. And within cities, windows are big problems for birds as they die hitting windows sometimes. And wind turbines, as we know we have down here, they can be dangerous for birds as well. So some birds, like in Waterton here, the Clark's nutcracker, it's not endangered, but it depends on a food source that's endangered. The Clark's nutcracker eats seeds from the white bark pine, and that tree is an endangered tree, which affects the nutcracker's ability to find food. And Canada has an official list of animals that we're worried about, and it's called the Species at Risk Act. And for short, we call it SARA. And the birds in Waterton that are on that list are not quite endangered. They're listed as threatened, and that means they're at high risk of becoming endangered. They are the common nighthawk, the olive-sided flycatcher, and the Lewis woodpecker.
Shannon, I love that you did the prep to know what questions might be coming in advance of the program. I really appreciate when people do that. And I will note too, we've done a lot of programs on bird conservation here, and the two things that come up a lot in our programs that you can all help at home: keep your cats indoors. If you have cats, they are the biggest killers of birds on this planet. They're the ultimate apex predator, and millions of us have them in our homes. They're wonderful, they're beautiful, but birds don't think so. And make sure you keep windows if you can. If you could put curtains up, something that makes sure that birds don't think a window is a space that they can fly through. A lot of birds, hundreds of millions a year, fly into windows around the world. And so those are two simple things that we can all do at home to help protect our feathered friends. Shannon, I'm going to take one more question before we wrap up. This has been such an enthusiastic program today. We've got a question about extinct birds. We talked about endangered, so that's when they're under threat. Are there any birds that used to live in and around Waterton that no longer are there? This is a bit of a tricky one.
That is a tricky one. So yeah, there are quite a few extinct birds in the world, and kind of a weird thing about birds is it's sometimes hard to tell because they travel a lot. There are some birds that will come into the park that may have been clocked as having been in the park, but we don't really know if they live here all the time. And so we have lists that say whether something is rare to see or maybe uncommon, or maybe that bird just got lost. And that helps us understand as we study over time if a bird has stopped coming to the area, and we monitor that a lot. And right now we have long-term projects that are looking at that and counting all the birds in this area. And we sure hope that when we notice those numbers are changing, we can do something to help the birds.
Yep. What a fantastic answer. Shannon, thank you so much for this today. Again, I really encourage our audience to check out the Waterton Lakes Park, the amazing stuff that they do there to conserve, again, culture, heritage, wildlife, and more. You can check out the entire series at our Peak Discovery page on our Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants website. And if you want to watch this program again, head to our YouTube channel. There's so much to discover there. This one or other Waterton Lakes programs. You guys have done more with us than almost any other park ever. So it's always a pleasure getting to head back and hang out with you guys. And as Shannon so nicely mentioned, eBird is an amazing tool, iNaturalist. And of course, if you want to join us at Backyard Bio this May, we'd absolutely love to have you. Shannon, is there a final message you want to share with our classes before I bring back in Sven Hansen to say a big thank you and farewell? Any last words on birds?
I just kind of hope with all these Alberta kids that I see some of you this summer in the park. And if you find me, we can do some bird watching together. That would be so cool.
So I'm in Newfoundland. I was born in Ontario. And I want to say every time we do a program in Alberta, we get everyone in Alberta. You guys are the most amazing province for local support in the whole country. And it's amazing. So a huge thank you to all our classes from there today. Sven Hansen, I'm going to bring you guys in to say a big thank you and farewell. You are in the broadcast. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.